Supreme Court strikes down electoral bond scheme. In a landmark decision, the electoral bond scheme has now been invalidated, terming it as unconstitutional. The court has directed the SBI to cease issuing electoral bonds with immediate effect. Election Commission of India is now expected to receive comprehensive data from SBI within 3 weeks' time. Once that information is collected, ECI will publish these details on its official website, ensuring transparency and public access to this information. Bonds that haven't been encashed will be returned to donors. In fact, the parties anyway have only 15 days' time from the time of the issuance of bonds to encash it, and if they don't, then it'll be returned back to the donor. Now, the ruling was delivered by a 5-judge constitutional bench led by Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, putting an end to a contentious method of political funding that's been under scrutiny since its inception. Supreme Court underscored that it violates the right of voters, right to information, and also the fundamental rights of voters to know the candidate itself. In fact, more money that a political party would have through funding, more influence that they would have on voters. The Supreme Court saying that this is, in a way, trying to influence votes.
The Supreme Court has struck down the electoral bond scheme, comprehensively struck it down, and all the provisions that were made to bring it into effect in the Income Tax Act, in the Companies Act, etc., everything has been struck down. They have held that this violates the fundamental right to information of citizens to know about who is contributing this much money to political parties, etc. They have also struck down the amendment made which allowed unlimited political contribution being made by companies to political parties. They have also directed the State Bank of India to furnish complete information about who purchased the bonds, who encashed the bonds. And all this information will have to be submitted to the Election Commission, who will have to display it on a public website so that the people come to know who purchased the bonds and who contributed by way of electoral bonds to which political party.
I would see this as a historic judgment, not only because it is unanimous, because it is so rare that when a government invests political capital in any economic measure, that the courts strike it down. The last time it happened was possibly 50 years ago in the bank nationalization cases. This is a significant judgment which will have its place in constitutional history.
Crores. Now, with 5,000 to 6,000 crores in your kitty, which is not to be used in elections at all, right? You can topple governments. You can build your infrastructure as a political party. You can build the infrastructure for the RSS. You can set up your communication network throughout the country. And you can do what you like in terms of the use of money.
The Supreme Court has come to the correct conclusion that electoral bonds, especially their opacity, is something which is fundamentally detrimental to democracy. There has always been this 600-pound gorilla in the room, which is political financing and electoral campaign financing. This is a step in the correct direction to make the entire paradigm of political funding, whether it is how political parties are funded from the booth level to the national level, or as to how elections are funded from the panchayat level to parliament, that needs to be completely transparent. Of course, the fine print will have to be read, but this is a judgment which is in keeping with the spirit of bringing about transparency to our democratic and political system.
Primarily, I will welcome this idea. But then there must be different aspects about it. From 2019, how much money has been collected by the different parties, particularly BJP. That should be announced and that should be made to clear from where they got the money and from who they got the money. Because that cannot be kept as a private one or secret one. Secondly, while doing so, what has happened, what will happen, whatever the money which has been collected earlier, will it be used or will it not be allowed to use in the election? Because they are already having sufficient, more than sufficient, super saturated with the electoral bond. The only party is BJP. Now, if they are allowed to use the money, it means you are preventing others to collect the money. So therefore, there are two aspects of it. You are doing a good thing, but you are preventing the smaller parties to collect it, and you are allowing them to whatever they have collected. They are more than they are super saturated with the fund.